Hello, welcome back to the Subspace Developer Sync, our bi-weekly update on all the going-ons within subspace engineering, some updates from ecosystem. So why don't we just go ahead and jump right into it. I like to start off always with a quick update on Gemini 3H, our current incentivized testnet. Last I had checked, just make sure I get a refresh. Oh, it's gone up a bit, so we're at 112 petabytes pledged. We're approaching about 10x the max we've ever seen in a previous testnet. So, and just continues to climb. It's pretty amazing. All right, from there, let's catch up on some team happenings. So I think last time we had the sync, a bunch of us were heading to Palo Alto to attend the Internet Identity Workshop, and then also a little mini workshop for the team. We'll say about that is we all learned a ton, had a great time interacting with a lot of different individuals in kind of the identity space. Our team kind of took the lead in facilitating some interesting discussions on internal initiatives we've been working on related to identity and AI, teasing that a bit. So we'll see where that comes out in the future. We're still kind of working through and processing a lot of what we learned from that week, both at the IIW and in our meetings together, and what the implications of that are going to be on our product lineup going forward. So with that, about half that team was from ecosystem, and it's a good segue into our ecosystem update with Jim. How's it going?
Yeah, very well. Thanks, Jeremy. The feedback I got from Emil and Ryan was that it was super worthwhile and they really enjoyed it. It's always great for everyone to get together in person, of course. We're a remote team by default. So when we get together, it's always great. Okay, so we've had some releases. We've had a flurry of releases in the last week, which has led to some hot topics, which is great because I wasn't looking forward to saying that everything's fine again, which obviously it has been. So yeah, we did have an issue with release last week, which took a couple of releases to really pin down and find out what exactly the problem was. Nazar jumped on it, and of course it was related to a difference between the way Windows and Linux lock files, which was actually causing a corruption in the plot JSON files. It wasn't immediately clear because certainly when I upgraded, I didn't experience it. So it was hit and miss, and these intermittent faults were always harder to trace. But yeah, the fix, if you do come across an error on start, it does affect Space Acres and CLI. Is you just need to upgrade to the latest version. It was right. Okay, Nazar's just filled me in. You had to resize the farm to trigger it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that's why I didn't get it. Something else, hot topic that has come up, a few people have noticed this, is that the latest release upgrades the version of Substrate that we use, and that has led to the dropping of the accepted connection messages that you're used to seeing on your node. I did see that there were some comments about, oh, I like it, it makes me feel safe, I can see that my farms are connected to my node safely. That was dropped upstream. So unless there's a real good reason to reintroduce it, we're not planning to, but don't panic if you don't see that message anymore. Obviously, you can check your farmer logs to make sure that it's happy. And yeah, just today I caught up in the forum and I read some interesting threads. I think it'd come over from Discord originally, actually, on issues arising from lots of farms being connected to the same node, and some odd behavior. I think Nizar's going to talk on this a little bit later on in the call, but he's working on something to address this issue in a wider context, and I'm not going to steal his thunder, so I'll let him speak on that. Other ecosystems are outside of hot topics. I'm very pleased to announce that farmer office hours and developer office hours normal service will be resuming this week. We have, I'm sure some of you have realized, we have Weasel has joined the team, Randy. and he's going to get the announcement out today. But fear not, there is definitely a farmer office hours this Wednesday. While we are planning to continue our usual cadence of alternating calls every Wednesday, there may be some small disruption to that regular programming for some big announcements, which we'll be making shortly. Stay tuned for those. On the DevSync, I want to give a shout out to our community developers, Wolf Rage and RS00, for their farming dashboards. It's lovely to see the feedback loop that we have going on within the community. Wolf Rage especially, I see him asking for feedback on the UI and getting that feedback and then acting on it immediately. It's wonderful. And of course, Zulkis, who we celebrated quite extensively recently on our developer initiatives. I know he's keen to get his hands on latest Nova permissionless EVM domain. Yeah, and we are going to be resuming our kind of outreach to developers in a more meaningful way. As I mentioned, we're going to be resuming developer office hours. And if you have an interesting idea you'd like to deploy on Nova, please reach out to myself or Emil. We've got great docs. If you go to the regular farming docs, there's a developer section in there. But yeah, if you want any assistance, we're here and waiting for you. Ambassador applications. Sorry, Jeremy.
I just wanted to point out that Nova is currently permissionless. We are working through some I don't know, bugs. There's an issue with extrinsic ordering and such, but for the most part, you should be able to jump on. I believe the faucet is live, so we should be able to get some funds and go ahead and start experimenting on there. So.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, and if you do experience any issues, let us know. We are in a test net and we are debugging Nova, our EVM compatible domain. So yeah, that's why we want people to deploy on it to find those issues. So yeah, ambassador applications are open until the 3rd of May 2024. I'm not sure when you're going to be watching this video, which is this coming Friday. Sorry, this is being recorded on the Monday. You've got until Friday to get your application in. The ambassador program represents a great opportunity to interact with the project on a deeper level. It's where I joined the project. I came from the community through the ambassador program and became team. And we very much have a family within a family in the ambassador program. There's a generous incentive structure and a number of specialized guilds you can join. So you can tell us what you enjoy doing, what your where your experience and you're specialized, and we can make sure that you kind of slot right into our existing framework. There is a post on the forum on how to apply. There's an announcement in Discord, but if you are having any trouble finding that information, please do reach out to myself or the program manager, who's Fredik, who I'm sure you've seen in Discord. Final thing from me, which when I wrote this, it was next in the agenda, but I think it sits a little bit further down now. But Emil, Ryan, and Mark have been working on something exciting, which is verified farmer roles. So integration between your TSSC wallet that you're earning testnet rewards into, and being able to associate that with a role in Discord. You may be aware that we recently deprecated self-assigned roles, and this is kind of where we want to go with this. But yeah, I believe there's something in the agenda further down to join that up for you. That's everything from ecosystem this week. Thanks, Jeremy.
Great. Always a lot going on. So, all right, well, let's just jump right into some of the highlights and things we've been working on. Daria, you want to kick us off?
Well, research is also busy at work. I have one update on the things that we have been working on for months, and then another intro update to things that we will be working on for months. Yep. So as you might have heard, we have announced in Power Office Hours, we posted on the forum, we have recently put the dynamic issuance into Gemini 3H. They will be mimicking the function of how the rewards are going to be issued every block on mainnet. To develop that, we have been collaborating with Block Science, and so we have decided on the functional form a while back. It was already deployed to Gemini 3H. What we have been still deciding on were the actual numbers for mainnet. So Block Science have done well thousands of simulations. They put a bunch of CSV files and Python notebooks and graphs and all of that, and they've analyzed this whole body of numbers and files. They have given us some recommendations, which I am working on to actually translating from Greek symbols to plain English text for our team of what does it mean and what is going to look like for mainnet. So this will then be reviewed internally by like finance and other of the leads. And when we decide on it, then it will be public. So it's also another very important step. BlockScience has also built a model to do those simulations, and it is open source. So it is also a great resource for the future of our network, for our governance, that they will be when they decide whether maybe to top up the rewards or maybe cut them down to have a little longer life or introduce some other grants. They will be able to run the model, click the buttons, see the graphs, and decide for themselves what effect does it have on the network. This has been used to right now get the parameter recommendations for mainnet, but it will be usable well, later and later to be able to inform our decisions in the network management for governance. So that's there. That's an update. The next thing is that Thursday and Friday this week, May 2 and 3, me and a few other researchers, including our head of research, Dr. Chen Fang, our collaborators from Stanford, for instance, wrote the paper that we kind of use the basis for our archiving process. They will be joining us in our Palo Alto office. And we will be whiteboarding for, well, it may last up until 10 p.m., as we usually do get pretty worked up into brainstorming on the sharding design for our network, which will be a major effort first in research and then in development, and will be a major milestone to actually get us to the promised internet scale.
Great. Looking forward to hearing more about the outcomes from that. So I know you guys have already been hard at work, kind of putting together different approaches and such. So I'm looking forward to hearing how that comes along. Another hot topic that wasn't really brought up during Jim's updates has been GPU implementation. So I know we gave an update last time where we were at, and I believe we've got some further updates from Nazar.
Hey folks, we did receive a very early version of the implementation. It's not like full implementation, but it does generate tables on GPU. And the comparison was actually done, I mentioned last time, I think, on 32 core Threadripper. It was actually 60 core Threadripper. It was 3990X, which is 2 generations old from the latest, but still quite beefy 64 core 128 thread processor. So comparing to that, they were able to see over 100x performance improvement on 4090 GPU. However, that needs to be discounted because that's not quite the full implementation, and that benchmark on CPU was actually done like on all of the cores. It wasn't actually using L3 cache to group different instances of encoding to maximize the throughput, as our farmers discovered, but still quite massive improvement. We will see how it translates into the eventual like functional farmer implementation, but it does look quite promising. So as soon as we have a more complete implementation, we will have likely some test builds shared with the community where they can experiment and provide us with feedback. And the next thing they will be working on is AMD support for AMD GPUs with ROCm API.
Did you also have an update on the, I guess, farming cluster? What are we calling this? This kind of new feature?
Yeah, I think it will be called farming cluster. Basically, the idea is there is a post on the forum that our farmer right now does a whole bunch of things. It connects to the node and connects to the DSN to retrieve and serve pieces. It tries to farm when sector expires. It will try to replot. It does some caching for DSN purposes. So like it does a whole bunch of different things. And the challenge is that some farmers have several machines on the local network, and they would really like to avoid kind of fragmenting the resources. For example, they will have to have a dedicated cache on each machine. They will have to establish more peer-to-peer connections, which are physically on the same network. So it doesn't really benefit the network as a whole too much, but it does cause problems for the router sometimes. So in order to address and optimize those things, I have described what I call a farming cluster, where there will be 4 dedicated roles. There will be a role called controller that you can have multiple instances of on the network that will connect to the node, and different controllers can connect to different nodes. That controller will also have peer-to-peer connection to the rest of the network, like DSN. And it will listen for events, it will listen for incoming requests and things of that nature, and will kind of orchestrate the whole cluster or like parts of the cluster. Then each controller can have a group of cache nodes connected to it. So cache nodes have to be connected to one of the cluster controllers. You cannot share cache between different controllers, but different controllers can have their own cache and serve all of the other parts of the local cluster. And you will be able to use like maybe lower tier SSDs on, in some cases, maybe even hard drives for caching purposes, even though they will be suboptimal from performance point of view. Like when you are plotting, you likely be a little bit bottlenecked, depending on how fast your GPU plotting is. The other node will be the other role will be a farmer. Farmer will do just like audits and proving. For the notifications, it will subscribe to the stream that is provided by controllers. So if you have multiple controllers, you can actually scale both the caching performance, and you can also have failover or latency reduction in case one of them goes down, or you need to upgrade the node or upgrade the controller, things of that nature. So you can have kind of a failover or like fault tolerant setup that way. And when farmer needs to plot a sector or replot expired sector, it will actually connect to the 4th role, which is a plotter, which can be a GPU, CPU plotter, doesn't really matter, can be even like remote. That will farmer will request from the plotter to create a sector. Plotter will connect to the controller, try to figure out if there is a local cached piece or it needs to go to DSN. It will resolve those pieces, collect them, encode them, and then it will just stream prepared sector to the farmer. If you have something like a remote plotter, that remote plotter can have a remote controller and local caches remotely, so it will just stream the ready sector from somewhere to your machine. So like there are different opportunities how we can arrange this thing, but the end goal is that when your node goes down, when your farmer goes down, something goes down, you will have way more control and flexibility in how you can orchestrate the thing. And as an extension of this, you can do interesting things like imagine you have 2 computers on local network. They were plotting and farming before, everything was great, but sometimes one is finishing replotting or plotting faster than the other. You will be able to share all of the CPU between all of the farmers on the network that way. Because if one is finished, it can dedicate its resources as like generic plotter on the network to the other farmer, and that farmer can plot even faster. So like load balancing and things like that will be much easier. There is quite a bit of progress on that. There are some refactoring pull requests on GitHub already, but there is still some work left to be done. Again, there will be test builds and announcements once it's ready to actually be used.
Sounds like a massive undertaking. So
that's why it was a few weeks and there are still no pull requests for final implementation.
Well, it sounds amazing. Looking forward to seeing this in the wild. So So, and what people do with it, as I'm sure having the different roles and kind of modularizing it's going to create some interesting opportunities. So, very cool. All right, so moving on. Avi, I know you've been hard at work at kind of implementing a layer zero version 2 bridging for Nova between Sepolia and Nova. You want to give us an update on where we're at with that?
Yeah, sure. So we have been able to successfully achieve that, establishing that bridge between Nova to Sepolia. And I can share, I can actually show a quick demo, and then we can actually, so right now we have deployed like 2 contracts. Our objective was to be able to send TSSC from Nova to Sepolia. So that's where we have a wrapped TSSC layer 0 compatible token contract deployed on both the chains. So henceforth, whatever balance, whatever, uh, like as a user experience, one would have to ideally deposit some TSSC and then instead wrap TSSC would get minted. And that wrap TSSC is going to be sent uh, uh, using another function, and then bridge is going to take care of, and then finally it will be delivered to the destination chain. So if you allow me, I can share a quick demo. Like,
Cool, sounds good.
okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so let me know if my screen is not visible. Um, so basically, if you can see on the left-hand side, we have a bridge running. And on the right-hand side, I'm going to like view the balance of the 2 tokens. And there is one account currently, which is going to be used as a user. So let us view the balance. So we can see that there are 2 tokens, as I mentioned. Token 0 refers to token on the Nova, and token 1 refers to the contract on Sepolia. So we can see like before sending any tokens, the balance currently is like 0 WTSSC on the Nova and 0.02 WTSSC on Sepolia testnet. And there is this particular user account which has balance 0 WTSSC on Nova and 0.02 WTSSC on Sepolia. And I'm going to send some tokens. So ideally in the script, I have by default set 0.01 TSSC. So you can see that there are 2 transactions, which is ideally done. So you can 0.01, and then another one is sending the 0.01 WTSSC. So you can see on the left-hand side that there is a packet which is sent. So each packet has some nonce, and the sender contract, which is basically the token contract. So it is this one, and this is some additional information which is not relevant. It is, you can say, consider it to be as a debug info. So, and then we have this different status. So one status is like, the packet sent from Nova. So status is in flight. That is the first status. Second, we have like another transaction happening, and then we have like status confirming. And there is this final transaction which has to happen. The second main transaction is this, which is, so the packet is verified and then committed. So that is what is happening over here, which is verification and then committing the verified packet. And finally, we are expecting another transaction, which is execution, and that is done. So you can see over here, like there is another transaction, which is basically execution. So which means the nonce heard is verified, and that is currently like set on the destination chain through contracts function call. So that's it, and we have a token transfer complete. So now you can see like over here, view. So previously it had this balance of like 0 and 0.2. We are expecting 0.03. So you can see like over here, like 0.03 WTSC. So one thing I have to say, of course, like when you send immediately, this balance is not going to get updated. So we can actually try it maybe once again. So I will just this time try to see the balance immediately after send. So let's. So you can see like the balance is like 0 WTSSC and 0.3. So 0.03 we already had over here, but then 0.01 it is supposed to be over here, but that is burned already. So that is why it is 0 WTSSC. And now it is going to be minted, and that's when we will see a balance of 0.04 WTSSC. So we are again waiting for the confirmation to happen over here. And so, so yeah, I mean, this is what is like the bridge, like currently. We are in a state to like bettering the bridge as of now, but then again, that is the current status. So again, we are waiting for the commit, execution. Yeah, that's all. So now you can see the balance, which is 0.04. Yeah.
Well, this is great, Abhi. Obviously, being able to get tokens in and out of the ecosystem is going to be important at mainnet launch. And so seeing how at least one approach to this, I'm sure there'll be others as well, but it's pretty exciting too to be using Layer Zero's new kind of setup, their version 2 setup here. So looks pretty cool. I know we are running out of time here, but Mark, do you want to give your update that Jim teased earlier, what you guys have been working on with the Discord roles?
Sure. So last Friday, Ryan, Emil, and I code pair and finalized the PR to add the future to be able to basically connect your Discord account to Astral. So once you connect your wallet, if your wallet has already voted at least once on a block and receive a vote reward, then you will see a section once we merge this PR that will allow you to connect your Discord. And this way we can grant you the farmer role. That PR is very modular, so we will be able to very easily after that add more roles and more checks to make it more flexible. Yeah.
Amazing.
There's a demo video in the PR as well. So.
Okay, great. All right. Well, that was it for this week. Administratively, our next scheduled DevSync, I know many of us will be traveling around the world. So we will see if we just delay it a week. Probably that's what we'll do, and come back with a bunch of the updates from our time together in Palo Alto, as a bunch of us will be getting together in Palo Alto to kind of continue moving the project forward. All right. Well, it was great. Everyone have a great week.